Hello, my name is Enrique Lunaholder. This is my listening and speaking exercise 1, Tell Your Own Story. My story takes place in New York City when I was about 7 years old. Back then, I was kind of bossy. I had two really good friends, Thomas and Eddie, and I would get them to steal things from me. Potato chips, candy, comic books, balls, bouncing balls, different kinds of things. My favorite thing to do was to distract the shop owner while they would go in, take the things, and then give them to me. Usually, stealing was my idea. I guess I did it because I was bored. One particular day, I was alone, and I decided to go the opposite way of how I usually got to school. I went the opposite way, down a street that I rarely go down, where they didn't really know me. I went into the store by myself, and I'm snooping around, and I see a couple of comic books that I like. Now, I had enough money to pay for one, but I thought it would be really cool to get two for the price of one. So I opened up one comic book, and I took another comic book which was a little bit more expensive. I mean, we're saying if one comic book was 60 cents, the other comic book was $1. But for a 7-year-old kid, 40 cents is a big difference. So I took the second comic book, which was $1, and I put it in the middle of the first one, and I closed the cover. I did this while the shopkeeper wasn't looking. My idea was to go to the counter, having pulled the cover of the first comic book on top over the edge so that no one could see that there was a small edge of a second comic book sticking out. While I had it in my hand, my idea was to quickly give him the money once he saw that it was 60 cents, and I would walk out of the store. Voila, with two comic books. This particular day, however, the shopkeeper grabbed the comic books out of my hand and put it in front of him and noticed that there was the second comic book. So he opens up the comic book and he looks at me. My heart is starting to beat really fast. And I gulp. "What is this doing in here?" he said. "I don't know how that got there. It must have been in there when I took it off the rack." He looked at me, looked me over, side to side. "I think I've seen you before. I know what you're up to." No, I'm thinking to myself, this can't be happening. What could he do to me? I mean, is he really going to call the cops? On me? I'm 7 years old, and all I'm doing is stealing a comic book. That's the worst that I thought was going to happen. "The next time I see you in here, I'm taking your coat." Oh no, I'm thinking. If he takes my coat, I'm going to be going outside in the winter, freezing. And when I get home, my mom is going to see that I have no coat, and she's going to be really mad. I thought, it's not worth it. It's not worth having this guy take my coat for a comic book. So that day, I decided two things. I decided I was never going to go back to that store again, and I was never going to steal again. So that's how I became honest. Thank you.